further ado, please welcome Jana
Thank you.
Harris.
Thanks, everybody. So I just want to say that even though Indianapolis is a big club, what I want to share with you is some tactical things that we've done to grow membership that I think are very applicable to clubs of any size. So even though we are a large club, these are multifaceted ideas, and I want to make it really simple. I want to give you some concrete things that you can do in your club to grow your membership. The first thing that I want to suggest to you is regarding your membership committee, and I hope you have a committee, people that are responsible, and someone brought up in the last session, we're all responsible for membership. Everybody is responsible for membership, but you really want to get enthusiastic people involved with membership, and you want to have a structured process. I was the membership chair for 5 years, and then found someone to handpick someone to take over, who 6 months later decided that she didn't have time to do it or she couldn't do it, and so they asked me to come back in and finish out the year, which I agreed to do. And as soon as I got back into the chairwomanship of this position, I realized that the processes were long. So the processes, I think, are critically important, and that it's very important that you ask. So you're going to constantly be encouraging your membership to just ask and to invite guests, and it is a club-wide effort, and you want to have a hospitable environment. I want to talk a little bit more about that. In that club environment, everybody has to be very welcoming. So I kind of think of it as a rush party. When you have guests that come for either an event or a guest day or just come to visit you at your weekly Rotary meeting, they have got to feel welcome. They've got to feel that it's important to everyone that they're there. And I think that very much involves them having an assigned host. We actually have membership committee members that are on call, just in case a guest would show up at one of our meetings. So I suggest that you're always prepared for a guest. And that host needs to be sure to introduce around. So if there's a guest and there's a table and everybody always sits the same at that table, guess what? Maybe you need to have a guest at your table. And if they're at that table, everybody wants to engage them and they want to make them feel welcome. And want to introduce the guests. You want to make them feel important. We have a presentation where we actually have the guests stand to be recognized. We go around with a microphone, or the president will introduce them to make sure that they're recognized. You want to also make sure that your board is very much engaged with the fact that recruitment and growing your membership is important. And you always want to be on the lookout for diversity and younger. It might surprise many of you to know that the average age of the Downtown Rotary Club is 47. So we have members that are 25 years old. And someone earlier said, how do you get those type of members? Well, guess what? 25-year-olds know other 25-year-olds. So you need to do some targeting. There's nothing wrong with targeting by industry. There's nothing wrong with targeting by any type of a certain demographic, whether it be age or ethnicity or whatever it is. We've actually gone so far as to do target lists. So you want to make sure, do we have representatives from the bank, from the insurance company, from the hospital? And as I'll say, I think a good resource to start with is your Chamber of Commerce, okay? Any company or any individual that's going to be a member of the Chamber of Commerce is going to be someone that cares about the community, and that to me has Rotarian written all over it. So if you're looking for those demographics, you can target those, even by industry. If we didn't have someone from Roche Diagnostics, then we go looking for someone from that organization. Now, it's very important that you have the proper materials. So you can't have a guest that comes to visit you, either for a structured guest day that we're going to elaborate on, or just to visit your club without giving them something. And guess what you should give them? An application to join. So you want to give them an application. You want to give them at the very least a sell sheet or a trifold. We actually have a folder. This is a page that we have on what is Rotary, and we're happy to share this information with you. But the minimum, you want to have information about who you are, what you do, what your service projects are, who your membership is, and that type of thing. We also have business card size cards that are called Meet Me at Rotary, and then if you have a place to sign your name. So you can sign your name, and it says, we meet every Tuesday at noon at the Scottish Rite at 650 North Meridian Street. And you can give that to someone that you may meet from your church, or someone that you network with in business, or someone that you think would be a prospect. It's a reminder to them. You want to make those available to your members. We have them at our registration table so everybody can pick up a few and have them in your wallet and be able to extend an invitation to come to the Rotary meeting. We also have a recruitment invitation letter for guest day, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. We also send a thank you note. We have a postcard that we've done. We've used the same one for 5 years, and the president will sign them. And when a guest comes, we do have staff, but you could have whomever, the club secretary, pops that in the mail so that they get a postcard from you. Thank you for attending. Please come back. I don't know what it is about Rotary guests that think they can only come one time. And then I have to make a decision to join. I'm not allowed to come again or something. So yes, please come back next Tuesday. So thank you notes, some type of a flyer, and again, happy to share with those because we've developed those, as well as an invitation letter that we'll talk about. So you've got to have materials, and that includes an application. So let's talk about something easy to implement that we've done downtown for a couple of years, and that is simply called Guest Day. We do it once a quarter, and it is a day that we, guess what? We focus on guests. So you're going to set a date, and let me give you some specifics of how I would suggest you do it, and this is based on how we've done it, trial and error, and we have made mistakes with it, but let me talk to you about it. The first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have an identification list, and when you identify to your membership, look, we've got a guest day coming up, whatever, May 25th. Everybody needs to be submitting a name, okay? You've been thinking about inviting your neighbor, or the lady from church, or whomever you think you want to invite. You're going to gather a list. You want to prepare in enough time that you have time to do the invitations, that you have time to engage a really key speaker. Okay, so you want a speaker that's going to be of interest. Maybe that's the mayor of your town, or maybe it's someone that has a new project going, or someone who just recently wrote a book. Someone that people would like to hear. We've had Brad Stevens, the coach from Butler. Somebody like that that's going to also be a draw, okay? You want to also invite people that have visited as guests before. So go back in the past year. Who's come and they never joined? Maybe 6 months ago wasn't a good time for them. Maybe this is a better time. And as I mentioned, a Chamber of Commerce list, I think that's low-hanging fruit. You ought to be covering all the major businesses in your town, of whatever size that town might be. And most importantly, you want member referrals, okay? So that's your invitation list. Now, we do an old-fashioned thing called a letter of invitation. And I can give you the form. It basically says that Rotary Club of Indianapolis invites you to join us for a special guest day on May 25th, where the speaker will be so-and-so, and please come at 11:30, and it's signed by the club president. That's a big deal to get a letter from the club president, personally inviting you to come, and we do ask for an RSVP. I recommend that you do this 2 weeks before, not 5 weeks before, it'll get lost, not 4 days before, about 2 weeks before, okay? And you ask them to RSVP to guest day. Now, one of the best things about guest day is it's very low cost to implement, because all you're going to do is have some things prepared, and you're going to implement those. So the first thing you want to do is you want to be ready for these guests. Have a pre-prepared name tag, so that when I come up to the table, Janet Harris is expected, and there's my name tag. You want to have those materials. Oh yes, that includes the membership application, because guess what? We're going to ask them to join the club. We're also going to schedule what we kind of just call a meet and greet. This is really informal. So our meeting starts at noon. At 11:30 is when we have the guests come. We have the board, we have the membership committee come early to simply have a meet and greet. Every single guest that comes is assigned a host, okay? So if somebody invited Christopher and I don't know Christopher, I might still be assigned to you. So if anybody's been in a sorority or fraternities, particularly a sorority, you're going to know that you're supposed to be looking when Christopher walks through the door. Hi Christopher, I'm Janet Harris, I'm going to be your host today. Do you know Gary? Do you know Thaddeus? Do you know? And you're going to really make an effort to introduce them around, because that's what's really important. So it's that simple. It's just a meet and greet. We don't do anything else. And then I'm going to sit with him, okay? I'm going to make sure that he meets other people at the table, and we're going to mix people up. So guess what? Those of you that always sit with the same 5 people, we're going to plan a guest at your table, okay? And everybody's going to be nice to them, and they're going to be friendly, and they're not going to talk to each other. We had a guest day about 2 weeks ago. And we had, somebody asked me about the numbers. I think we probably invited 30 some people. We had about 11 that attended, and we got 2 applications on the spot. That was unusual. But I, of course, was kind of circulating, and I saw 3 guests talking to each other, and I panicked, and I went over and I poked somebody, probably the president, Peggy, and said, go over there. You got to go talk to them. They're all talking to each other. So, you know, everybody's got to be very welcoming. We got to be on, okay? We got to pull out the big guns. intermix and have them sit with other people, you buy their lunch or their meal, okay? We do that anyway for guests, but that's gonna be probably the extent of your expenses with something like this. We also, if you have a projector like this, we'll put their names up. Today, the Indianapolis Rotary Club welcomes Susie Jones and Mary Smith and da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so we're gonna welcome them that way. The other thing that I think is a good idea to do is to show a little presentation or have someone from the club give a short presentation on what is Rotary International. Many people may not know the bigger scope of Rotary, and that has a big impression, and that is of a lot of influence. And then, most importantly, guess what? We're gonna ask them to join. We're gonna ask them to come back. So you might also have a few members that stay to answer any questions or that kind of thing. Now, critical to this entire process is going to be your follow-up. And I have to tell you a story. When I first became the membership chair downtown, it was about the time that the Nordstrom at Circle Center Mall opened, and we had a fabulous breakfast there. And I mean, it was a dynamite event, and had great attendance and everything. It tanked. And the reason it tanked is because I had no plan. We didn't follow up. We didn't thank people for coming. We didn't call up and say, did you like it? Would you like to come to Tuesday's meeting? I dropped the ball. It really did. It really tanked. So we learned from that mistake, and we have a structured follow-up. Now, if you've only got 5 guests, then split it between a couple people. You call the next day. You send the postcard. You keep them engaged. You invite them to come back again. You absolutely have to follow up. You can't just have them come, and that's it. There's got to be follow-up involved. And if you don't, you're not going to follow through with the process, and it's all about the process. Now, this is a really simple thing, but the people that should be involved with your membership and recruitment efforts should be salespeople. Does anybody here have any idea what I do for a living? You think I'm a bookkeeper? No, I'm a career salesperson. Go to your town and get your #1 real estate agent or insurance salesperson or whoever. These are the people that are going to enjoy networking, that are going to enjoy asking for the order. No offense against a bookkeeper, and I had somebody from the last session that said their membership committee was a mortician and an accountant. Okay, well, that's fine, but it's really that simple, and I had mentioned this to Gary early on this year about having the right kind of people. And when I came into the membership chair, I handpicked who those people were on the membership committee. So we have a big committee, and we divide the responsibility, which makes it a lot easier. And I also say, if it's not fun, we're not going to do it. So we always have fun. So you want to have the right people that have the right background, and I think a sales and marketing background or customer service, and people that are really interested in meeting people will be great candidates for that. The other thing you might consider doing is have a service project to follow up. Last winter, I had a lot of fun with Eric and his team at Indy Metro. They're a provisional club, and they wanted to do a membership event. So in addition to the quarterly guest day downtown, Indy, we've always done an annual recruitment event, like a big event. And so they wanted some tips on putting it together. And one of the things that we talked about was that also to plan a service event shortly after that. So you have your event, and then say maybe 10 days after the guest day, you're going to have a service event. You're going to help with a beautification in a local park or whatever it is you're going to do, a habitat thing. You can invite those guests to join you at a service opportunity, and that gives them a less formal setting. It keeps them engaged, and then they see a little bit more about the meat of what your Rotary Club could be about and what they could be involved with. So that's another idea, is to have the service project, and then you again want to give them an application. So not to call on you, Eric, but how many new members have you had from your event?
New members from the event, it's about 10.
Did you guys hear that? About 10. Okay, that was from an event. What if you had a guest day each quarter and you got 3 new members? What would that mean to your club? What if you got 9 new members? What could it mean? It takes very little effort and just some organization, and I'm happy to help any of you here with what that might look like for you. So as I said, once per quarter is what feels right to us. That's what I would suggest to you, and I've kind of given you the steps. So now that you've recruited these new members, what are you going to do next? Before I finish, and I do want to take some questions, is I did want to go back to the event. So if you feel like you like the guest day, but you want to do something a little bit bigger, maybe you turn your annual picnic for your membership into something that includes guests. Or in our case, like I said, or in Indy Metros, they planned a special event in the evening and had it be a special occasion, had someone maybe come and make a presentation, have the district governor come, and have a special focused event. You're gonna take the same process that you used for the guest day, you're gonna give it even more time to plan, and then you're going to build a whole event around that. And what's the most important thing that you do when it's over? There you go, follow up. Any questions? Yes?
What, how do you know these folks? Are these people that you have just called from the telephone directory? Or are they known
Great.
and recommended by other Rotarians in the club or by yourself?
Yeah, well, all of the above, actually. I think we have the most success when you you extend a concentrated effort to your existing members to submit names of guests. So we have a guest day coming up. It's at the new Alexander, which is a real new chic hotel downtown. We like to do things that are places that people wanna go, that they haven't seen or whatnot. And we hit it hard on Rotarians and turn in their guests. Oh, and I forgot this the last session. Guess what? The only way that you can come to that special event is with a guest. So we want Rotarians there, but you have to have a guest coming in order to attend. That is a further motivation, but yes, invitations, personal invitations first of all. Or if we read in the paper that somebody's in a new position, yeah, we might just send them an invitation. We don't have as high a success level with that, but sometimes people come. The last guest day, I had sat next to a woman that was a financial planner at another luncheon, and she gave me her business card, and I just said, add her to the guest list. And she got there, and she goes, wow, this is great, I have no idea who invited me. I said, I invited you.
Does that reduce the number of people who attend the meeting that day? So if you have 30 guests, that means you have 30 Rotarians?
That's, for the special event is when we do that, not for the guest day. So in order to come to the special event like we're having at the Alexander, you have to have a guest coming in order to attend that. The guest day is a typical luncheon with a focus on guests, with the pre-preparation for guests, and with a speaker that is gonna be of an extra added interest.
How standard is it for boards to approve a list of potential candidates, and should that happen before you
No.
invite them to guest day?
No, we just let the members propose the people as guests, and then I guess it's very rarely that we've had any reason that someone would make application that we wouldn't approve, but we don't really screen who's on the invitation list.
But you do eventually approve.
Oh, yes.
We'll cover that when we do provisional memberships.
Anything else?
Okay, before we take,
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Who pays for the guests? Is it the Rotarian who invites, or does the club pay?
The
And
club
when you
thing.
invite them to come back the following week, do they pay or do you pay?
Well, we get, at downtown Indianapolis, we pay for a guest, we call them prospective member. We'll pay a prospective member once. So if they came for guest day, that would count as their free lunch. After that, they have to buy their own.